Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jaspreet, and I've been associated with this MNC brand AECC as an English language trainer. And I've been training students across India and other foreign nationals as for IELTS exam from last 10 years. So today I'm gonna help you out to understand how difficult or easy it is to get 7+ bands, as most of the students think that it's really quite complicated to get 7+ bands. And there are too many myths and some do's and don'ts that they already know, and they get confused of how to get. They think that it is an uphill task to just crack IELTS or get 7+ bands. So today I'm going to help you understand the basic parameters, how we can easily get 7+ bands if we have the clear idea and some do's and don'ts. And if we follow them strategically, we can definitely get 7+ bands. All right, so let's just understand the few myths that are being told to us, or we've heard about, that we think are the things that we should follow to aim certain level in IELTS of 7 or 8, 9, and we know that we have to follow these things. So most of the students think that in writing module, the vocabulary is the most important thing. I've meet students who just tell me that, ma'am, it's necessary to understand and learn a lot of vocabulary to get 7+ bands, but that's actually not true. Vocabulary is important, but it's not the only parameter. In IELTS, we have 4 parameters of writing that are task response, task achievement, coherence and cohesion, grammatical range and accuracy, as well as lexical resources. So vocabulary is just one part of it. And even if you have a simple vocabulary, but you have clear progression of your ideas, if you understand the topic well that is being given to you in IELTS exam, you can definitely ace that exam with good bands. So the vocabulary is not that important, or is the not only the most essential thing. The other common myth that students think is true is about the ideas. They think that in IELTS writing, we have to write many ideas so that we can use again a lot of vocabulary to enhance our score, but that is not true. An examiner always looks for the clear progression of your ideas. If you'll write too many ideas, you'll not be able to explain them in depth, which is required to attain a certain level in IELTS writing. The third myth is that you need to be perfect in grammar, that you need to ace everything. You need to know the correct punctuation. You need to need the different tenses. But that's actually also not true, because grammatical range and accuracy are 2 parameters that are being clubbed together. So in order to get good bands in grammatical range and accuracy, you need to have different variety of sentences. So you can have different conditional, compound, complex sentences, passive sentences, and there's so many more types of sentences that you need to understand. Now, every student cannot write a range of 10 sentences, different types of sentences, or 4 sentences. Even if you write few different types of sentences with accuracy, you can definitely get a good score on grammatical range and accuracy. And again, I would say that there are 4 parameters. So in case you are weak in 1 or 2 parameters, but still you are better in another 1 or 2 parameters, then you can definitely make a plan strategically. So if you are not that good in grammatical accuracy, you can still work on the different types of sentences. You can learn few types of sentences, their rules, and you can use them in your writing. The next module that students are confused about is the reading module. And they asked me that reading speed is something that we do not have. Like we are slow in reading and we cannot comprehend the meaning that fast that some of the native speakers can. So can't we get good bands? So they think that to get 7+ or above bands, it's necessary to have a good speed, although it's not true. I have students who are very poor in reading fast, still they get 8.5, and the best score like 9, just by skimming and scanning techniques, just by understanding the strategies of locating the correct answers, of locating it in the right way without reading the whole passage actually. The another myth is that one should have a good background knowledge of the concepts of the topics that are being given in reading, although it's absolutely wrong. And even in some cases, it can hamper your score because you get confused. If you use your background knowledge while reading and you use your knowledge to answer the questions, you might answer it wrong. So it's a complete no. It's not required and you shouldn't use it. You should read the passages as if you have no idea about the topic and it's just something that you are reading it for the first time. So you should always go with whatever is information is given in the passage. You should answer your questions according to that only. Okay, moving further, we are going to discuss some common myths about the speaking module. Now, students sometimes ask me, is there a rule that we have to speak 3-4 lines in general questions? And is there a rule that we have to speak 8-9 lines in follow-up? And do we have to memorize a few words? Are the examiners get impressed by some kind of strategies that are already prevailing in the market, like PPF or something like that? It isn't true at all. You do not have to memorize anything. Again, there are 4 parameters of speaking: fluency, coherence, your pronunciation, your grammatical range and accuracy, your lexical resources. So all the 4 parameters are going to be assessed out of 9. So each parameter has equal importance and weightage. So in order to get good bands, you have to have a good balance of all the parameters. Good vocabulary, having a good vocabulary is necessary, but it's not the only thing that you require. Even if you have the knowledge of simple day-to-day vocabulary that we use in our daily life, if you use the idioms in the daily life, if you use those in your exam also, you can get a good band score of even 9 in speaking. Again, the fluency is not the only parameter. If you are just good in fluency, but if you use very simple sentence, for example, if a student is very fluent, he does not take pauses, but he makes all the sentences very simple. I live in this town. I belong to this. I like to drink this. So if he makes all simple sentences of 4 to 5 words, still he cannot get good band score in, because his level of English is limited. So in order to ensure that you get very great scores of 7+ above, you need to have a balanced vocabulary. You need to know the vocabulary that you can use in daily life, plus idioms, plus phrasal verbs, plus a mix of collocations that you can practice. So you can definitely get good bands. All right, so there are some of the things that you should not do in order to get good bands. You should not refer to any random source. There are so many websites, so many people who are just trying to sell their market in terms of teaching IELTS or something, but they will distract you. Sometimes just to get their subscribers or likes, they just tell you absurd things, which are absolutely not correct. So one should always refer to the authentic sources, like sites of British Council, IDP, and the official Cambridge sources. So never refer to any third party. The other wrong thing that students do is that they do not practice the complete paper. They think that speaking or reading, or maybe some people find writing the most difficult, so they practice only that module and they leave behind the other modules. thinking that they are good in listening or maybe they are good in reading, and they just leave that module. So it's actually very incorrect strategy, because in that case you might not get your good scores in the module which you might be good otherwise. So you can actually get a better band score in that module. So skipping off any of the module while practicing is a complete no. You should always practice all the 4 modules in order to get a 7+ or above that. The other mistake, a blunder mistake, I would say students do is that they do not review their mistakes. They keep on practicing, and they put the same errors in their writing, they put the same errors in their speaking, and they do not review their mistakes, do not try to improvise. So they just remain at a single level, whatever their level is. If it's 5, it's 6, even if they practice for months and months and they do not do not take feedback from their teachers and they do not work on them, they're not going to progress at all. The other mistake that students should not do is to cram their answers. Never adopt rote learning, because examiners have an eye to quickly understand that the student has just learned some lines. Because I've seen most of the times that students will write some kind of ready-made lines in essays. They use some kind of ready-made lines in their speaking as well as for their thesis statement, for the background statements that they use in their essays, for the conclusions itself. So in this way, examiners have experience of understanding that the student is not capable of enough to frame those kind of sentences. Even the words, everything that they are using is just crammed, and they do not give you good marks for that. So definitely do not adopt such strategies. All right, next we'll discuss the difference between 2 types of exams that we have. One choice is of computer delivered exam, and another is a pen paper exam that we can opt for. So the difference between the both is that the paper that we can give on paper is LRW is taken on computer itself, and you get result within, I guess, 5 days. And the speaking is face-to-face. There could be a video conferencing, so it will always be a face-to-face, and it's never taken on the same day. But on paper exam, your LRW is gonna be on paper itself. You'll go to the center or to the venue where your exam is going to be conducted, and you'll just write your 3 modules there. And your speaking would be again on a separate day, and that too face-to-face on some another venue, and you have to go there and give a face-to-face interview, and result is usually delivered within 13 days. So the only difference is that if you are not having good handwriting or you are proficient in using computers, you can opt for computer delivered exam if you need your result fast, because in that case the result is out within 5-6 days. So you can definitely opt for computer delivered exam. And if you are comfortable with on paper, you're used to writing on papers, you're used to underline the things on the question paper, then definitely go for reading listening, because in computer you can highlight those things, the important keywords on the computer itself. So if you are handy with that, if you are comfortable with that, you can go for it. So whichever choice you feel is apt for you, you can definitely go for it. Okay, so now let's discuss how we can practice effectively. So one thing is that I've already mentioned, that you should always have someone who can suggest you your weak areas, who can suggest you the ways that you can put to improvise. Always practice with the authentic official IELTS test papers, the books that are from Cambridge, from the IDP or British Council published material, because you cannot trust the third party authenticity. Always trust these websites for the published material that they have, the material that they send to students when you book your exams. Always try to practice from those official sites and published material only. Another thing, have a trainer, have someone who can just tell your weak areas. For example, in case you are having a problem in your coherence, if you have ideas but you cannot connect them well, have someone who can just suggest the ways of improving, how you can use different types of connectors to link your ideas and progress your ideas into different paragraphs beautifully, coherently. Supposedly you have problems in using the appropriate vocabulary, have someone to just understand, make you understand, and help you in improving the vocabulary level. So you definitely need to understand your problematic area. You need to work on those areas consistently to get your levels improved. And it's not going to happen in just one day. So you need to be consistent on that. Take your problems, take one problem at a time, understand your weak areas, work on one weakness one by one. Another thing that you should try is to brainstorm for better scores. So what actually is required? You need to just inculcate different ideas, try to read different kinds of reading comprehensions, try to listen to different kinds of videos, news, podcasts you can follow of different genres. So someday you can just listen to a small podcast that is related to history. Someday you can just opt for something that is related to science maybe, and then another day you can maybe just listen to something that is related to politics. So in that way, you'll just build up a different kind of vocabulary also. And then you should become familiar of different accents also, different English accents. So you need to understand, you have to have a clear picture of what British and American accents are, especially. Okay, so now we'll understand one by one of all the modules, what actually is required to get this desired band score. So initially, we'll discuss about the writing module, because I know most of the students struggle in this particular module and they do not get good bands, and they sometimes are able to get bands in other 3 modules, but they are lacking in writing. So writing is something that concerns students the most. So what actually is required? The main thing that I can tell you is about planning. The most essential element of writing is planning. If you do not plan your writing well, you can never get good bands. Even you can never finish your task within the specified time. So if you want to finish your task within the stipulated time, and that too with the meeting all the criteria, all the parameters of writing, then you definitely need to understand the importance of planning. Whether it is task 1, that is a graph, or whether it is task 2. The only thing difference in the 2 tasks is that in task 1, it is task achievement that matters, and in task 2, it is task response. The difference is that in graph you have its specified data, and you just have to give features, you just have to make relevant comparisons. That is the demand of the question, that you have to put that sort of information within 150 words, and you have to give the comparisons wherever required, and you have to give the highlights of the graph. What are the main essence of it? What are the main trends that are being shown to you? You just have to sum up that within 150 words, for which you have to have a clarity in your introduction first. Make a clear rephrasing of the statement that is being given to you. Then again, you need to have a clear idea of the overview of the graph. So for overview, what you can do is just take a look at the map or the diagram or the graph, whatever type of graph, it's line graph, pie chart, whatever type of graph you have in your exam, just look at it and try to understand in first 30 seconds what it is all about. What are the main few things that comes to your mind when you see the whole data without looking for the figures? Just see the changes. If it's time given, then see the changes, the relevant changes that came over that time period. If it's the different things, that see the changes in the different things, the usage of different things or whatever it is. So you need to just understand, and then you have to divide your paragraphs according to the different types of information. So you should have a clear set of overview, a clear set of ideas, a clear set of comparisons, or appropriate vocabulary that comes under lexical resources, different types of connectors that are appropriate to use in that. And for task second, that is an essay, you need to first understand the type of question, whether it is an agree disagree essay, to what extent agree disagree, whether it is problem solution essay, whether it is a descriptive essay, advantage, disadvantage. So you first try to understand, just read the question, the prompt that is being given to you, understand it well, comprehend it in your mind. Just then think of the ideas. First 5 minutes you should spend on planning your ideas. Just plan them right. Just write the ideas that you have. For example, if you have an essay what are the effects of global warming and what solutions can be taken. So sometimes students do mistake that they write the causes of global warming, that it is our carbon footprint which is responsible for that, but that's not being asked. They've clearly mentioned the effects of it. So in case you write it that your essay is completely off track, even if you have good grammar, if you write a variety of sentences, but your ideas are not relevant, you're not going to get good bands in that. So planning for the ideas is the most essential thing. Understand the prompt, understand the type of question, and then start doing it. The another thing is less is more. Now, what is meant by that less is more? Actually, the second blunder mistake students do is that they write too many ideas in their essays. Too many just creates a chaos on the sheet of paper, and it makes examiner confused what sort of ideas are. There's no linking, there are no main points in the different paragraphs, with the supporting points are not clearly mentioned, they're not progressed, they are not the ideas are not clearly described in depth, which is required to get good bands in task response and coherence and cohesion, because all these parameters are interlinked. You have to have main points, you have to have ideas, relevant ideas, and then you need to have supporting ideas to build up your main idea. If you write too many ideas, you won't be able to express what basically you want to say. So you have to express. The expressing of your ideas more important. So write less ideas, and in-depth explanation of what is required for that. Second thing is you should work on your lexical resources. Now, for lexical resources, it's not just vocabulary, it's collocations also. So collocations, you must not be aware of what collocations are. So collocations are the group of words that stick together and they make a meaning. For example, relevant ideas, for example, political level, for example, poverty level, academic achievement. So words like that stick together and they have academic meaning. So in lexical resources, these two things are quite essential. So single words, that is vocabulary, plus the blend of collocations, and that too in a different set of structures that are compound, that are complex, using subordinating conjunctions, using coordinating conjunctions, or blend of all sort of these things, a balance of good lexical resources, your vocabulary, your collocations, plus put in them into a beautiful sentences, different kind of sentences, and you can definitely get your desired band score in writing. All right, so now let's just discuss speaking. So speaking is another module that in which lots of students struggle. Some have good fluency. Some children are good in grammar, but they're still not able to understand. Some feel that the fluency is the only important thing. Some feel that it's just the vocabulary that is required, but it's actually not true. Again, the balance of all the parameters is required. So the first thing that you should definitely avoid is to use any kind of fillers like and so and so many pauses in between. So if your speech is not smooth, you're definitely not going to get good bands in fluency. And if you not get desired band in your fluency, you're definitely not going to get 7+. So in order to get 7+, you need to avoid pauses, although you can take some natural pauses, but the pauses should be just to think of the ideas, not to struggle for vocabulary. And it shouldn't seem to the examiner that you're struggling to get your mind work on the words that you require, or you are just thinking of the connectors, or you're just thinking of the grammatical structure, or they should not be forced. Nothing should be forced. So you should avoid having too many pauses and fillers. The next thing is that students get confused between how to take answers of the first round, that is general questions, and of the third round, that is a follow-up round. These two set of questions are different. In general questions, examiner is not looking for in-depth answers, but in follow-up, he definitely does. So in the follow-up round, you need to clearly state your opinion, your side to your opinion, and you need to clearly explain that, for which you definitely need to add examples to make the examiner clarify what your opinion is. So add as many examples as you can in your third round. But in the first round, just make it concise, make it precise, up to the point, whatever question is being asked. In IELTS speaking, you can definitely add idioms, you can add phrases which you cannot add in writing otherwise, because they're not considered formal. But in IELTS speaking, you can definitely add idioms, you can add different kinds of phrasal verbs, and that becomes a part of your lexical resources only. So you just not have to work on single set of vocabulary, you can work on simultaneously on the collocations, on some of the idioms that we use on day-to-day basis, and some kind of phrases to accompany that. So you can just learn few of the idioms like, it's not my cup of tea, which means I'm not good at it. This is something that I can't do, or I don't want to do, right? So you can definitely use idioms like that. The most important thing is that you should have a clarity of ideas, clarity of opinions, whether you agree to whatever the examiner has asked, whether you don't agree, or even if you don't have any idea of, you still have to give the answer. So whatever you feel, you just have to give the clarity and explain it well. Sometimes if the examiner asks you again and again question, related question, a similar set of question or same question maybe again and again, that definitely means that you have not answered your given question properly, that the clarity is missing in it, and the examiner needs to understand the clarity, and that's why he's asking you again and again and again and again. So if you're getting more questions like why, that means you are not up to the mark, your answers are not up to the mark, they are not fully developed, and you need to develop them more. So you should keep working on the different sets of topics that come in exam, and you should build up your vocabulary, you should practice your vocabulary, your collocations, related idioms, and some kinds of phrasal verbs that can definitely help you in getting a desired band score in IELTS speaking. Remember that fluency is not the only parameter, or grammar is not the only parameter. There are 4 parameters again. Pronunciation is as important as fluency and coherence. Grammatical range and accuracy is also as important as lexical resources. So all the 4 parameters have equal importance. So in case you lag behind in 1 or 2 parameters, you can work more on the other 2 in order to get 7+ bands. All right, so reading is the another module where a lot of students struggle and they are not able to break the ice. They're not able to get the score more than 5.5, or they get stuck at a level of 6 and they actually require 7 or maybe more than that. So for that, what you should do, you should have an habit of reading. Actually, you should be able to comprehend. For that, you need to build up your comprehension skills. I won't say that you have to read the whole lot of newspapers or the articles on the daily basis, but you need to read some kind of academic published articles on different topics, some scientific, historical, study related in different fields like history, geography, science, different streams of science. So you should be familiar with different types of topics, for which you can take help of different podcasts and can read some of the short articles on those to improve your vocabulary, to understand how the academic journals are published, and the writing style of different authors, to understand how they paragraph, how they write. Basically, it's how you write helps you to understand the reading. Reading passages are also written by someone. So how we have different important points separated in different paragraphs is what is given in the reading itself. So we need to understand the usage of different paragraphing in those articles so that we can understand our passages. Again, you should understand the strength. There are different set of questions. There are multiple choice questions. There are true, false, not given. There are yes, no, not given. Match the information, fill ups. You should practice all different set of questions. You should try to get your weakness areas. You should try to understand what your strengths are, what type of questions you're good at, what type of questions you're bad at. Sometimes students are not struggling in their whole reading, but they are stuck in some of the few types of questions. So each type of question have different type of strategy. It's not necessary to read and understand the whole passage, but actually you need to understand the techniques of reaching to a certain band level. So you need to understand your strengths. You can just work, you can make your the questions that you're good at perfect, so that you can assure some marks in those types of questions. Then your weak areas, so whatever questions you're lacking in, whatever question types you don't understand, you should try to understand strategy behind that, how to do that. And you can definitely take help of a teacher there who can guide you in those set of questions. So you have to practice different set of questions, attempt them, try to figure out which are your weaknesses, which areas you are lacking, which areas you are good at. Another important thing in reading is to follow the instructions carefully. Students do not actually read the instructions that are being given there. For example, if there is a fill-up, there are instructions given like you have to write no more than 2 words, or there is a option, there is a instruction of writing no more than 1 word. So in that case, what you need to do, if you put 2 words from the passage, if there are 2 words given and you put both of them, then your answer would be incorrect. So the mistake here in this case would be that you haven't read the instruction carefully. Sometimes there is a fill-ups given, and there are words, set of words that you have to pick up from those words and you have to fill in the blanks. But those words have alphabet like A, B, C, and you have to fill those. But because you just didn't look at the instruction, you might just lose marks by simply filling those with the words that are being given instead of writing them in alphabets. So you need to follow instructions carefully, which is the most essential thing in both listening and in reading. So first, read the question, try to understand the question, read the instruction, whatever is being given to you, and then start finding the keywords from the question itself in the passage. Plus, as you know that you get 1 hour for reading, and so time management is really quite important, and the difficulty level of 3 passages which you get in exam is not same. So you might need to spend more time on the passages that are difficult to comprehend rather than those who are easier. Mostly the first one is the most easiest one, and the third one is the most difficult one, although the shuffling happens. So you need to manage your time well. However, you should never leave any answer unanswered. For example, if you just could manage to solve 38 questions and 2 are remaining and you don't have time and there are multiple choice or something like that, or they're just true false, just write something, give an answer, don't leave it unattempted. Sometimes, your luck favors and you might get your answer correct by fluke. So as there is no negative marking, never leave any answer unanswered. Okay, next let's discuss listening now a bit. So for listening, the students struggle in understanding the accent. Mostly these lectures are taken from the published material of some scientific studies from British or American. So you need to ace that accent, you need to be fully understand and British as well as American accent. So practice more on these types of accents. You can watch their videos, you can watch some songs and movies maybe to understand that, to be familiar with that accent so that it becomes easier for you to understand. So for listening, to get good bands in listening, you first need to be familiar with the accents, different sort of accents. So start listening to different podcasts, especially which are American or British. Never write your answers quickly. Another important thing is that you should never write your answers quickly. Sometimes they just tell you a lot of information. They'll give you a lot of information around the main question, and whatever information you hear first, you just have an urge to write the answer. But sometimes it's not correct because they contradict that statement in the another second, and they just give you another set of information that is related to the question itself. So you might give a wrong answer if you do not wait and listen till the end to what the speaker is saying about that matter. Read the questions, understand the questions. You always get some time to read the questions before your actual audio starts. Always use that time to read the instructions, understand the instructions. Again, the instructions have been given of no more than this words. Sometimes it's that you can use a combination of number and or a word. Sometimes it's like you can either use a word or a number. So these both instructions are different. If you'll just not read the instructions and you'll just try to just start listening and doing the answers without looking at the instructions, you might get them wrong. You might answer them wrong because you've not taken care of the instructions. Now, when you miss something, when you just miss the audio, you don't understand something or something, and you just, again, I would say that don't leave any answer give the answer, give a wild guess, make some kind of prediction and answer that. So it's because it's no negative marking, there's a probability that you get your answer correct. So never leave any blank answer on your answer sheet. Just fill your OMR sheet. Well, another tip that I can give you is to write always in capital letters. Because if you write in small letters, sometimes your writing formation of different letters are not that clear. So it becomes difficult for examiners to check. So sometimes students just lose marks due to this thing. So always write your answers in capital letters, always make predictions. If you've missed something, just read your questions before the audio starts, understand the questions, mark the keywords, the important words, understand the question. Never jump to the options. Always concentrate on the questions because you have to understand the question. The question is the most important thing in listening. So whatever question is being given, unnecessarily don't focus on their options. Just focus on the main question that is being asked. Understand it, keep it in your mind so that when you listen, you do not miss the question. Okay, so I hope I've solved your queries about how to get, and you must be having some idea now that how easy or difficult it is to get 7+ bands. So now I'll tell you why and how AECC team can help you in getting your desired band scores. So as we have 1500+ questions to practice, we have writing sample answers, speaking sample answers that we'll be providing you from time to time. All list of important vocabulary collocations that are being given on day-to-day basis according to different topics, writing topics, speaking topics. Not to mention that the team of AECC always provides individual attention to students because to satisfy students is our utmost aim. We have different set of strategy material for each question type. There are workshops being given on different types of questions in listening and reading. And we practice daily, regular mock tests are given to monitor the progress, and regular feedback is given to you to understand your weak areas and how you can improvise on that. There are unlimited doubt sessions that are being given in the classes, so you can always ask your queries how many times you have. And all the trainers are well experienced. They have more than 7 to 10 years of experience, and they're certified by IDP. So these are all the advantages that you can get if you join AECC programs. Then we have different set of programs. Also, we have different set of programs for different level of students. Like we have pre-IELTS, then we have foundation batches, main programs for IELTS. So get registered with us, and then you can definitely get a clue of your level. We can assess them and we can help you know your level, and can help you, we can guide you in taking the course that is required for you. In case of any query that you have, you can definitely drop me a message on ielts.mohali@aeccglobal.com. In case of any query related to your IELTS programming, related to any sort of question that you have in your mind, how to get this desired bands, how we can help you, you can definitely drop me a message at ielts.mohali@aeccglobal.com. Thank you so much.